This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Thanks, everybody, for downloading the latest edition of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company. I am the Doc, John McEnroe. Joining me, a somber, a really sad baseball guy, knowing that his manager just walked away and retired abruptly without ever getting a chance to formally meet him. Vito, I'm really sorry about Ron Gardenhire, your guy. I know that you had an opportunity to interview some Tigers last year, but when it came to interviewing Ron Gardenhire, you didn't get that opportunity, and I'm really sorry.
Yeah, it's too bad, isn't it? I mean, here's the thing. It's rough on him, though, to start off and what he's dealing with. And, let's just think of him and keep him in our thoughts and almost want to say prayers. I guess maybe we shouldn't make it worse than right than it potentially is from. But he is still a man that actually went through a bout of cancer a couple of years ago, battled back from it. He's 63 from my knowledge as well, which is pretty much or exactly my dad's age, by the way, if I do the math here. And I'll do the math right. He is 63, my father as well, who's been on Talk before. But speaking of this man, Ron Gardenhire, the guy that manned this ship in Detroit for, 3 years, never had any success. Last year was downright horrible for the ball club at the major league level, going 47-114. Worst team in all of baseball last year. But they made some strides, and the people, the staff, the coaches, the players loved Ron Gardenhire in Motown. Daniel Norris and Spencer Turnbull, they spoke glowingly of him in the aftermath of his decision to step down from the Tigers officially and effectively retire on Saturday before the Tigers game there on Saturday evening. So to see Gardy go out like this, it is sad. And once again, our thoughts are with him here on Tigers Talk with him and his family. And big time props to him and what he accomplished in his big league managerial career as well. A lot more athletes to the Twins, obviously, who I believe he managed for 13 years there in Minnesota. But still, the Tigers, he did not just 1,200th major league managerial victory. Think about that. Just to get to 1,200 career victories as a big league skipper. That's just so darn impressive. And nowadays, especially when you see more and more managers being let go after 2 years on the job, or at times even only getting a year on the job. Brett Ausmus, how about him, man? The skipper before Ron Gardenhire kind of got done dirty. And I never liked Brett Ausmus here in Motown, but remember with the Halos a year ago, he had one season on the job, and that was it. And then he was let go. So Gardy has had the luxury. And at first, he started his coaching career with the Twins. He was a third base coach there with the Twins, and actually, back when they won it all, he was on that coaching staff. So he served as the third base coach, and eventually took over as the big league skipper of the Minnesota Twins. And he accomplished a ton while doing so as well. So once again, big time props to him on a great major league managerial career. And I think he is done officially. I mean, as of right now, obviously, we have to take it as it was delivered to us on Saturday when it was revealed that he was stepping down and retiring once again. But obviously, there's always still the shot, right, that he does manage again. But his son, John, and I think you probably saw this, Toby Gardenhire, who's with the Twins minor league staff, and I believe he is a AAA manager for them. He came out after Gardy announced his retirement, and he said that he doesn't see his dad managing another big league ball game. And if he never manages another game, you know what? Good for him. He accomplished a ton, and I hope he just gets healthy now, moving forward as well.
Vito, look, one thing I'll say is this. Ron Gardenhire is the luckiest manager in the history of Major League Baseball. First and foremost, stop calling him Gardy. We're not fanboys here. And he is the manager and was the manager of the Detroit Tigers. But we don't get to call him by his nickname. It's Ron Gardenhire. And when you and the fanboy reporters out there that are just trying to get all this positive attention, you don't call him Gardy. It's not respectful. He may be like, oh, you don't call him Mr. Gardenhire like some have. But what you do is you just call him by his first name. He's more than okay with calling him Ron, but calling him Gardy, you sound silly doing it. That it's a pet peeve because you know what? He's not going to call you, Big V. He's like, hey, Big V, what's going on?
Well, he should. Well,
Yeah.
I know he should, though, John. I mean, God, I am Big V, man.
I would send him a letter and say, call him Vito or Mr. Chirco. Now, second, look,
call him Mr. Chirco from now on, Mr. Gardenhire.
Exactly.
Who are you speaking to here?
And second,
all joking aside,
while this love fest that went on, it's fine. I understand because he was ill, and the fact is he is a cancer survivor. All the more credit to him for overcoming it and getting an opportunity with the Tigers. But when he signed that contract and he saw the landscape of what was going on, it was a money grab, period, hands down. And he didn't have to do nothing. Look, let's not remember that the team blew last year and their defense got worse. So, and he had to come kicking and dragging and screaming along to embrace analytics. So let's not act like Ron Gardenhire did a whole bunch. Everyone did the whole love fest with, oh, Ron, you did such a great job. You're so nice. And you're just because he stood out there and answered the questions, great. You were, I think he was a breath of fresh air in regards to the fact that he was blunt and he was honest and he answered the questions. But on the baseball field, a lot of players didn't get a whole heck of a lot better with him, as the manager. He's a nice man, very quality. But look, let's not forget that when he took some talent to the postseason, they ended up not winning. So this was a guy that I felt like maybe if he was there when the Tigers hired Brad Ausmus, might have had an opportunity to advance. But let's not act like this was Jim Leyland. This was a manager that was pretty much known for obviously doing well with Minnesota, but he also underachieved in the postseason. So let's not sit here and serenade him like he's Tony La Russa or he's some great manager. Great. I think that he actually is the luckiest manager in the history of baseball. He looked at it and goes, wait a minute, you guys are rebuilding. There's no expectation for me to win. You're going to pay me for 3 years. All right, I'll sign up. Please, if any other manager looked at that, why would you come here? He was going to be the best, and we talked about it on Doc and Jock, and 3 years ago on Tigers Talk, we looked at it and said, oh my gosh, this is just a placeholder. He's going to be here for 3 years, and he's going to get fired at best. And he walked away early, 10 days before the season ended. His health got the best of him, and I have all respect for him for making the decision. You never can begrudge someone for choosing his family over work. But let's not act like this guy wasn't handsomely paid, and he got to sit out there and watch a bunch of young people fuck up all the time. So that's just something that when I look at it and I say, this rebuild's taking its sweet-ass time going through this process, but Ron Gardenhire could have done a whole heck of a lot better with what he had. There weren't a lot of wins that I saw that were too meaningful, and you look at it and you say, even this squad, a younger, fresher manager could have maybe even gotten this squad if you use the pitching staff correctly, figure out how to use analytics the right way, and start the right people. I could even make an argument that this squad could have maybe had an expectation with an expanded postseason to make the playoffs. This was a guy that grabbed the money, took advantage of an opportunity because his name was out there. But if you're any other manager, I would have ran from this job a million miles away. Let's not act like he did a whole heck of a job. He got to babysit a bunch of young players. Now it's going to be on the next guy to take what has been instilled and really get things going. But the Tigers are still a long ways away, and this next manager hire better be a whole heck of a lot better. But stop it, Vito. Don't call him Gardy, and let's not act like he was this hotshot manager. He got lucky, he cashed the check, and he stole some money.
Well, okay. Did I ever say that he was a great manager for the Tigers? Did he win anything meaningful? No. He never notched a meaningful victory. They never reached or came close to reaching the postseason. They were well under 500 all 3 years that he did serve as a skipper of the Tigers, too. And, yeah, I mean, all that has to be used against him. And I never said that he was a terrific manager for the Tigers in, the 3 years that he was in Detroit. And I'll give you this much as well. And I said it myself, I believe 3 years ago, or at least since he was hired, as he started his managerial tenure off with the Tigers, I had said myself, John, that this was really a retirement gig for Ron Gardenhire. Not Gardy, Ron Gardenhire, to sound like we're professional here now on Tigers Talk. But, yeah, I don't think he did a ton as Tigers skipper. The wins don't show anything for him, right? And then once again, yeah, it was a retirement job for him. And, in his career, he didn't have a ton of playoff success. But overall-wise, when you look at the 3 years in which he was the Tigers skipper, and you look at the talent that was amassed by GM Avila, Well, surely it falls on his shoulders first and foremost for the lack of talent, for the barren talent in the farm system at the major league level, especially with Darty being the big league skipper for the Tigers. So he never had a ton of talent to work with in his defense as well. And trust me, I can't defend him all day long, and I'm not going to defend him all day long, because maybe this year, like you said, a better skipper, let's say, could have gotten a little bit more out of his big league talent that was close to clinching a playoff berth, perhaps. And it was an uphill battle, and nobody really started believing in that it was a realistic possibility that they were going to reach the playoffs as a wild card club this year. But you still have to bring up the fact that, yeah, there were times in which he maybe misused the bullpen this year and kept using Joe Jimenez when he should not have been, because for me, Jimenez, when you're using him, you're waving the white flag of the ball club and pretty much conceding the game and accepting defeat. And he still did use him a ton. And I know Jimenez has had his good outings out of the pen here and there. But large scale, obviously he hasn't. And Darty, you can say around Gardenhire once again, that is, didn't misuse his pen at times. But once again, he had nothing to work with, John. So, especially during the first 2 years as skipper, he had no shot to win with this ball club. And realistically, once again, including this year, he had no shot to win with this ball club. There are still so many holes in that lineup, top to bottom, in that rotation, in that bullpen. I mean, obviously the pitching staff as a whole is still barren and not good enough. So when you sum it all up and look at what he had to work with during his 3 years as Tigers manager, well, he didn't have the talent that Jim Leland had, or that even Brad Ausmus had. And maybe Gardenhire should have been the guy that was hired to replace Leland instead of Ausmus. But he wasn't. He was ushered into managing this collection of lackluster talent over the course of the last 3 years. And I honestly believe that he didn't have much to work with, and he did the best he realistically more than likely could have done, outside of maybe, John, maybe this year.
Oh, my God. The retirement tour for Ron Gardenhire was classic. It was funny to see that all the love and all the respect that was shown. Look, he deserved it for his entire body of work, but the 3 years with the Tigers, forgettable. I'm like special assistant. He doesn't earn no special assistant job. I think he should just ride off into the sunset, go back to Florida, give him a call here and there. What do you think? Okay. But I'm not giving him no cush job. He doesn't deserve the Al Kaline treatment. He doesn't deserve the Alan Trammell treatment. He's just stopped through 3 years in, and he did his thing, and let's move on. And let's say this. Kudos for taking the job. Kudos for sitting 2.5 years watching this, because all he had to do was show up, speak to the media, and just see what happened, because there was no expectation of winning, and he knew what was going on. So give him credit for being able to do it, because I would have walked in there day one and been like, all right, Chris Ilitch, open up your damn checkbook. I'm freaking 59 years old. I'm getting old here. I don't want to sit here and go through a rebuild. Open up the checkbook. Let's go out and get a couple pitchers. At least get me a 500 ball club. You don't have to give me a championship ball club, but at least give me some competition. Man, his first 2 years were horrible. And I do pin the defense on him. The defense never got better. I mean, last year, we laughed so much. You and I remember distinctly all the times we would laugh at the Tigers' simple inability to hit the cutoff man. We would go, dude, from center field, you're supposed to throw it to the shortstop or the second baseman. And the amount of runs that were given up by missing the cutoff was so ridiculous that it cost the team. And it kept happening over and over and over. And you recognize a decision that also potentially impacted the Tigers organization was the decision to keep yanking and messing around with Nick Castellanos. I mean, if Ron Gardenhire was such a baseball guy, you go to Nick and you go, look, what do you need here? What's going to make you happy? How are we going to get you to 20 home runs? I see it in you. What do you got going on? All right, you want to play third? All right, that's your spot? Great. Not let's keep yanking him and putting him in the outfield and doing this and then ruining his confidence because he kept bumbling the ball out there. I would say this. If Nick Castellanos was still on the Tigers and was a valuable commodity, he might be that bat that you're looking for. He might be one of those players that could have been around here. Obviously, him in the outfield made it way more difficult for the organization to invest in him, but he goes to a great organization in the Reds with a nice, lovely ballpark to crank home runs, and look what he's doing. He's destroying the baseball. So I would say this. Ron Gardenhire came here for the retirement gig, like you said, and there was never going to be an expectation of winning, and so I think that he could have done better. How much better? Maybe 10%, 15% across the board, but still that lends to the discussion that he could have did better. So while I'm happy that he's going to be healthy and focus on his family, the Tigers got better. They need a fresh manager. They got better. They don't need an older generation manager sitting there acting like their grandpa. They need somebody to light a fire under their ass to get them to perform, or they need to get shipped out of here. That's what they need. And so now we turn our attention to this in the second half of the podcast to who's next. Me personally, I'm all on board with AJ Hinch or Alex Cora. I don't care about what they did in the past. I have no problems with what they did. You know, obviously the problem lies in the manner in which it was organized, and they figured out ways to cheat. They got caught. They served their penance, getting fired from great cush gigs. But now I'm in the spirit of forgiveness, and I'm in the spirit of winning. So I don't care. As long as they make an oath not to get caught and not to do something that's going to besmirch the Old English D, bring a young winner here. Because Gardenhire's doing the whole loyalty tour, if the Detroit Tigers stick with Lloyd McClendon, or bring back Alan Trammell, or promote Lance Parrish, or bring in Don Kelly, Vito and I are going to have a meeting because we're going to cancel the podcast, because I am not going to break down a team led by a manager that's going to lose for the next 3 years. They got to go young. They got to go fresh. And, of course, Vito can make a case and be like, look, man, I've been doing this 230 episodes. I really like it. It's part of my weekly routine. I get my chance to talk to these players. We finally got a chance to interview these people. I really would like the opportunity to take advantage of the podcast. I'll consider it. I might not just axe Vito right away. But if they don't make the hire, AJ Hinch or Alex Cora, I'm going to be livid, okay? I don't want a retread. I don't want Lloyd McClendon. Dude is in his 60s, and he's been here forever. It's time to clean house, open up the checkbook, and let's turn this shit around. Because, you know, you're starting to, and we'll talk about it, Casey Mize has been disappointing so far. He's kind of been off lately. His first handful has not been as good as Skubal, but I need a manager that's going to light a fire under these athletes and handle his business. So you got to make the right hire, and I think I'm happy to see at least Hinch and Cora are on the initial list. But part of me thinks that, hey, Mr. Ilitch, Chris Ilitch is going to go cheap here and go, you know what, if I can make a case, if McClendon wins 8 or 9 games here, if the Tigers look better, I don't think they will because they're going to play the Twins and get their ass handed to them. But if McClendon gets the gig, I'm going to be highly, highly disappointed.
He's not getting the gig, okay? Don't worry about it, John. He's not getting the job. But you and I both would be hugely disappointed. Now, back to the podcast and continue to do it. Well, always the problem is compensation on your end. Obviously, compensating me correctly. So we'll get to that another day. But in terms of the Tigers' managerial candidates now moving forward, you can't go to an oldie but goodie as a veteran guy that's been around the game for 20, 30 years. And I get that Alan Trammell loves the Tigers, is a special assistant to Al Avila now in that front office. He's been a roving instructor on the farm at AAA this year, checking out all the young talent and trying to give scouting reports, and he does do that for the Tigers. And I appreciate him doing that. But he already failed hugely as Tigers skipper when they lost 119 games in 03, when they were barren in terms of talent once again. And really no manager could have done much better. But you got to believe somebody could have done a little bit better. And you also have to remember that Jim Leyland came in 06. He was a perfect manager to fill the void of Alan Trammell. Alan Trammell was not going to deliver that kind of a season, miraculous year from start to finish, as Jim Leyland did in his first year on the job. I truly believe that. So if you're trying to get to the point now where you want to have a Jim Leyland year, right? Where you want to win, you want to be competitive, you want to make the playoffs, you want to have a shot at reaching the Fall Classic sooner than later. Well, Alan Trammell, the guy that replaced him, was better, and when you can find a guy that's better than Alan Trammell, you do it, which they did there, and they can do again. So obviously what I'm trying to say, no offense to Alan Trammell, who I love and what he did in the Old English D for all the years that he suited up as a Tigers starting shortstop and a true Hall of Famer and on and off the field, he's not the guy for this gig. And no other older dude, I say oldie but goodie again, but older dude is really the guy that's right for this gig either. I really do believe with you, John, that they got to go down the young route in filling this vacancy. I don't want another Ron Gardenhire. I don't want another Lloyd McClendon. I don't want Dusty Baker even, who's with the Astros right now. I don't want a retread, is what I'm trying to get at. And you were kind of getting at as well without saying it when you mentioned Alan Trammell and the likes of Alan Trammell. So I would love the younger dude as well to fill the vacancy that embraces hugely analytics. And Gardenhire started to do so. But from day one, I want this guy embracing analytics, to have the analytical mind that knows how to read the stats, navigate through them, and pick out the right matchups for his bullpen and with his lineup construction on a day-to-day basis. That's how you're going to win in the modern era of baseball, while still having, I know, an eye on the talent and being able just to perceive and judge talent based off of the eye test. But you need the guy that does truly and fully embraces analytics. And when you look at the candidates out there that perhaps do so, well, we know Alex Cora does. We know A.J. Hinch does as well. Two cheaters. They've been proven to be cheaters. And I love how you went right to them as your two top candidates. Not a surprise to me, John, that you went for the cheaters there at A.J. Hinch and Alex Cora. But here's what's funny, I think. I think if the Tigers hired either of them to be the successor to Ron Gardenhire, sure, the cheating would be brought up, but it would kind of eventually, I think, be brushed under the rug. Because people care more about winning at the end of the day here in Motown and in a lot of big sports cities than they do about a guy cheating to get his way to the top. Sad but true, but that's the state of our country at a lot of levels. So when it comes to the names of A.J. Hinch and Alex Cora being legit candidates to fill the void left by the retirement of Ron Gardenhire, I think you're onto something. And especially with A.J. Hinch. John Morosi brought up a ton of different candidates. A.J. Hinch was mentioned. Some other guys that played for the Tigers that have been mentioned, such as Marcus Tate, Don Kelly. Everybody would love Don Kelly, baby, right? They all love him, and there's so much fandom for that guy out there. Well, he's with the Marcos. That is the Pittsburgh Pirates now, who have heavily struggled this year. But he's not the manager over there in Pittsburgh. And you know would love to be the manager of a big league ball club one day, and I believe sooner than later. And he's already really proving that he's a bright baseball mind. And almost, most importantly here, a bright young baseball mind. So there's a lot of years ahead of him to be a big league manager. And I think he's a guy that has to, and they're going to target for the job as well. And from a PR standpoint, man, they would be hitting a home run, no pun intended, if they hired Don Kelly to be the next Tigers manager.
Oh, my God.
But in terms of how I evaluate it really quick, John, I mean, the guy that I like the most is Hinch, actually, myself. Number two, it might be Don Kelly, baby. Don Kelly baseball.
Stop it.
You gotta love Don Kelly.
Stop it.
Come on, John.
Experience. Look, Detroit sports has been saddled with all of these new, fresh, young coaches, and none of them have done well. All right, you got the worst collection of managers and head coaches in the history of Detroit sports. Experience. So you got to have a title. If you want to have somebody that's going to get you ahead, you got to have that experience. And give me A.J. Hinch or Alex Cora. I would probably go with Cora because of his ethnic connection. I think he can relate to some of the young players that have talent. A.J. Hinch, I think, obviously would maybe need some more high-priced talent and some he's got experience working with, a rebuild. So I'm okay with either of those two. Don Kelly, no experience, don't need it. The rest that have had experience and don't do nothing, I don't need. You got two candidates, and you better pick one of them. So it's going to be one of those two. It has to be one of those two. Don Kelly is not worth your time, Vito. Stop it. I think that you just want to relate to somebody that's young and that will take your phone call if you ever get a chance to go down there next season. Stop it. Don Kelly would not do nothing. He would end up being probably on par with Brad Ausmus. You need experience in this game, and I think that's the next step for Detroit coaches and managers. You got to have experience. And with that said, I can't believe you even uttered that name. That name coming out, it just reeks of just homers that just want to see people with fun nicknames manage their team, and nobody would bet their house or mortgage that Don Kelly would win. Would you? If I gave you $1,000 bonus and said, all right, bet it on that he wins a World Series title, would you bet that $1,000? No. The second I asked,
I wouldn't bet it on A.J. Hinch either. I wouldn't have betted on your boy, A.J. Hinch or Alex Cora either because of the varying talent they have.
I would.
It's about amassing more talent as well moving forward.
Bro, they got the pitchers. They're going to have another high draft pick. They got enough talent. They're going to start coming up in 2 years. You're going to have Torkelson. You're going to have Green. You're going to have Candelario. You're going to have Willie Castro. You're going to have probably 3 potential starting arms. You just need like 3 free agents. So don't tell me there's no talent. The talent's there. Everybody sees it. You just got to mold it correctly. So don't tell me that Don Kelly's going to mold it. Please. Absolutely not. Now, we got a couple minutes left with our remaining time here on this great edition, this fiery edition of Tigers Talk. I think you like this version of me where I come at you stronger and I don't let you here bloviate and tell the Tigers how awesome they are. I got the opportunity, and I shared it with you right away, finally, I think we've talked about it, but the 7-year grind of trying to get access with the Tigers and more access to be able to interview the players and to get into press conferences, we finally got the opportunity to be part of the Zoom meetings. When I applied for the credentials early this year, the first couple games were busy, so I was not authorized. But finally, after the first couple series that took place at Comerica Park, I got the opportunity to attend a handful of games at Comerica Park. And I said, look, thank you for credentialing me. I really appreciate it. It's the third year I've been part of the media now officially, and thank you for letting me cover the Tigers. Can I get in on some of the Zoom meetings that I'm covering? And right away, they started sending me the links. And the first time I got to kind of experience what it was like to hear the questions and the nature of the questions, it's a little bit more open, which I like. Each reporter can ask like 2 or 3 questions. It's a little more laid back. Obviously, some of the questions that they don't like are when they challenge, like, hey, you pinch hit for Daz Cameron here, or you did X, Y. Second guessing is not the thing that a manager likes, especially after an epic loss. When there's a win, they're open to talk about the game, the nature of why certain players are there. So, and I think the best way in media is to start with some of the younger players because they're more open, they're not as cynical. So I asked Tarek Skubal, I said, this Indians player, I looked at the stats and I said, this Salvador Perez, he took you to task and he destroyed the baseball. I said, what makes him such I saw his batting average. I looked at it, the stats and the splits and, wow, the Indians got a decent hitter and maybe a strong chance to have some success and make some noise just based on the 1-2 rotation that they got with their pitching staff. Wow, got a chance to see them both. 1-2, baby. They handled their business and they were awesome. So I asked, I said, well, because everybody was like, this and that and going real soft. And so I said, man, these questions are kind of dull. And so I said, I'm going to ask, where do I said, I put my name in the chat and you heard, obviously nobody knows how to say my name. I respect.
Nobody does.
I respect Chad for making an attempt. So I went right to the page and I said, what makes Salvador Perez such a tough hitter to match up against? And he answered it. And I thought it was a good question, right to the point. And I asked her, I said, okay, was that a fair question to ask? And he said, yeah, Tariq said that, he hit mistakes, he swings a lot, and when there's mistakes made, he can connect. And then I like that he actually put in there that, hey, when I made my pitches, I got him out. So I like that little swagger in him, too, to say, hey, yeah, he got me once, but I got him, too. So I like it. I think, look, at the very least, I know I belong. I'm attending. And so every game that I covered, I attended the media sessions. I took notes. And I'll say this, it's professional, but it's light on entertainment, light on good sound bites in regards to asking the question. It seems like a lot of these questions are aimed at keeping everybody in good favor, not riling it up. But look, as a journalist, I think the notion is to ask the questions that they don't want to be asked. But you got to find a way to ask it delicately. So it was good. I'm happy. Hopefully next season we get an opportunity again to be able to ask the question. So I think I did a good job, right, Vito? You were impressed by my question there right away?
Well, do I need you to pat you on the back here? Is that what you're looking for, man?
Yes, that was a good job,
you
right?
Looking for that right now?
At least
I got. Really, what is this?
I always, I always envision, Vito, one time I'm going to ask a question and then the Zoom meeting is going to end. I have that vision. Like, I'm just going to be like, so, Ron, or so, AJ, you keep playing, Miguel Cabrera. He's batting, 169, worst batting average of his career. Do you think maybe there's an opportunity to see Torkelson or to bring up a younger player that has, a little bit more of an opportunity to be successful? Your Zoom meeting has ended.
Oh, for sure. You would deserve it, man. Yeah, you would deserve it. You even the first guy to deserve it. The most deserving dude of that kind of an honor. What an honor that would be for you. But for us, you and I to be still included in the mix in this.
I'm happy.
It's been just, some kind of a year, right? And unheard of, unforeseen at one point, right? And it was never before been seen. So for us to still be a part of the mix, right? And be watching the games, you being able to go down to Comerica Park and wearing your mask and social distancing with the media in the press box. You look superb, by the way, with their mask. And everybody else there looks superb with their mask. All about that, baby, here in 2020. Up. But mask up, baby. Hashtag mask up. And you know what? We got a Tiger up as well with this ball club. And we will continue to follow along with the action as they get better and better at the major league level. And that's what we're hoping for. But the big thing now, it's just having everybody's discussed. We already discussed it ad nauseum. But the managerial vacancy for the Tigers' big league ball club, who is going to fill that void? And another candidate or two, I got 2 more to bring up really quick here. Marcus Thames of the Yankees, the hitting coach of the Yankees, who played for the Tigers at one point, has some coaching experience. Don Kelly, baby, by the way. Donnie Kelly has some coaching experience as well. They already noted with the Pirates. And with the Tigers, he wasn't in their farm system as a coach. But these guys have coaching experience. They're different from Brad Austin. I know you want to reflect upon that probably and make that parallel from Kelly and teams to Austin before Austin got the Tigers' managerial job. Austin had none of it. He was in the front office for a little bit with somebody. I believe the Dodgers maybe before he joined the Tigers. So no coaching experience at any level did Austin have prior to taking over the Tigers. Now, once again, Kelly and teams have had that. And another guy that's outside the box is my man, the Grandy man, Curtis Granderson, who I don't know if he would want the job. He might end up being a broadcaster, doing something else in Major League Baseball as an ambassador. And he's already done a ton of stuff for the African American community. And maybe he just continues focusing his efforts on that. But I think he would be an extremely bright mind to have in the Tigers dugout one day, in the Tigers clubhouse one day. And maybe not as a skipper, let's say, right? Because he has no prior coaching experience. And I get it. We don't want to go down that route of Brad Austin once again. But give him some kind of keys to the organization in a front office role. Maybe a special assistant into Al Avila. Or to be, I don't know, the outfield instructor throughout the farm system. Or maybe the hitting coach for the Tigers one day. And maybe Marky Tames would bring in Curtis Granderson as the hitting coach. Who knows? But the Grandy man is just another candidate who I want to throw out there. But the most viable dude is still your man, A.J. Hinch. And after that, you might have to make the case, sorry, sad but true here, John, to you, but make the case for Don Kelly. And if not him, Marcus Thames maybe even, John Charles Macaroon.
Make sure to follow Vito on Twitter at Vito Jerome. If you agree or disagree with anything that we've debated today, feel free to hit us up at Detroit Podcast. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday to one of the great baseball podcasts. Vito really does know his stuff, and I've enjoyed these last 230 episodes broadcasting and breaking down the Detroit Tigers. But it's a new era. The dawning of a new era, baby. It's going to be young. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be analytical. The young cats are coming, and this season meant nothing. This was a developmental year. See Casey Mai, see Scooble. There was never going to be a realistic chance of making the postseason. Now we get a chance to see how the franchise is going to take shape in the next 4 and 5 seasons. Thanks again. Tune in next week to the next edition, another fine edition of Tigers Talk with Chirco and Company.
John, I've enjoyed making you smarter throughout all 230 episodes. Guys, with that, adios.